Welcome to Kardec Radio, where you nourish your soul daily. As you wait for our next program, The Medium's Book, visit Kardec Publisher at kardecpublisher.com to check out our latest books. Also, check out our Kardec Flicks, Spiritism in a Click. Just go to kardecflix.com. And now with you, our host, Dr. Vanessa Anseloni, with the program The Medium's Book. Enjoy it.
Hello, dear friends, and welcome to Kardec Radio. Kardec Radio is here with us to nourish our souls with the Medium's Book. Since January 2025, you and I and other hosts from around the world have been with you relaying weekly chapters of the Medium's Book, a book that was published firsthand in 1861, right after, 4 years after the publishing of the Spirit's Book by Kardec. In Paris, France, the educator became the codifier, the researcher who talked to the spirits through the mediums, and as an editor-in-chief compiled the information for us. And today, we're going to enter a new chapter. Chapter 26, questions that may be addressed to the spirits. What kind of questions can we ask the spirits? Is it okay to ask questions at all or not? Well, come with me and I'm going to share slides. Chapter 26 of part 2 of the Medium's Book. Here we are. We're going to begin, and hold on a second. Let us together go through this beautiful knowledge that is truly no. Sorry, friends. There you go. So here we are. Questions that may be addressed to the spirits, chapter 26, part 2. Remember, this book has 2 parts. Part 2 has many more chapters, and we are almost at the end of the book. And in this chapter 26, we will address questions that may be addressed to the spirits. So what kind of questions can we ask the spirits? Can we ask any questions? Well, in the first part of the chapter, which Kardec called preliminary questions, he says, we can never be too careful about the manner in which we question spirits, and especially about the nature of the question themselves. It's so interesting. Think about a journalist. What do you do if you want to interview somebody? Or a therapist, or a physician, or even the police or the judge at court. You have to be careful, right? Preparing your questions. And that's what Kardec is saying. We must consider 2 aspects of such questions, the form and the scope. So he says, as for the form, they should be addressed clearly and precisely and should not be too complex. How interesting is this? So we need to reflect on the question, right? Before we ask them. Prepare the questions beforehand. And the scope of the question requires even more serious attention because often the nature of the questioning is what elicits a correct or erroneous response. So the form needs to be clear, precise, simple, preparing beforehand, and what kinds of themes. it must be serious themes, and it must be something that really pertains to the realms of more elevated spirits. Remember, depending on the questions, who is going to answer? So, fascinating as this chapter is, Kardec is going to outline the themes that we usually address. He first says that spirits respond better or worse according to their knowledge. According to their knowledge, they will, their interest, their affection towards us, and our purpose for inquiring of them, and the usefulness of the subject we are talking about. So remember, in the spiritual realm, there are spirits of different levels of evolution. It's like if you go to the streets, walk in the streets, and ask somebody, oh, I have this problem with my health. What do you think I can do if I want to lose weight? But who is this person you're asking? He's not a doctor, not a nutritionist, not a therapist. So they're probably going to answer something. If you ask anybody this question, people are going to say something. Start exercising, drink this, take that. But that doesn't mean they know. The same when we ask the discarnate spirits. Who guarantees that the spirits we're asking are knowledgeable enough? So it will be better to attune. So the word here, time and again throughout the book, when we talk about mediumship, we're talking about attunement. Mediumship and attunement. Mediumship and attunement. It's all about connection, association, frequency. It's about mental currents. And Kardec says it depends on the knowledge that the spirits have, the interest they have, the affection they feel for us, and the purpose of what we're asking them. So what is appropriate or inappropriate? Kardec has that point, and he says, far from being inappropriate, questions are highly important for our learning when we formulate them within proper limits. So, should we ask the spirits? Yes. But when, how, we need to think. He says a little more. Serious spirits take pleasure, like good teachers. They feel the pleasure of responding to those whose purpose is goodness and for the advancement of theirs and others. They do not listen to worthless questions, however. So we need to think, are questions serious? But Vanessa, I need to know, am I going to get married? Am I going to have children? Am I going to find the love of my life? Okay. We can ask those questions. But let's think together. We're going to evolve whether we marry or not. Whether we find the love of our lives or not. The goal is to progress. And when we talk about jobs, relationships, wealth, health, it's all about construction of millennia. It's about vectors of attraction, and not necessarily questioning the spirits about it. Like people who go talk to tarot card readers, psychics, what are they going to say? Have you observed that when you go see those people, they ask you questions? And people are so gullible, usually they reply, Oh, what's your problem? What do you want me to help with? And they say it. They laid out the cards. And fraud exists. We're going to learn later in other chapters about frauds. We need to be careful, especially people who charge, because those who charge have a hidden agenda. We respect everyone, but mediumship is not educated in our schools. You don't pay. And if you do courses to become a medium, you pay for them, you're being deceived, because mediumship doesn't come with a course. It's an organic, inherent faculty in us. That means the low order spirits, such persons very much, people who are gullible, who like themselves love also entertainment, and they are very pleased when they manage to deceive them. Low order spirits are of greater number, by the way, on earth, and they love to mingle in our lives, to meddle in our businesses. Even like when people have sport competitions, I've been to a few recently, and you see the spirits meddling in the very competition. So interesting. They are in the bleachers with the fans, they also cheer, and they also enter the game and play. Sometimes they disrupt things, create chaos, and that's why sometimes the team that is supposed to win doesn't win, because they connected with low order spirits, sometimes out of vanity, out of anger, out of guilt, out of revenge, and they enter the game and disrupt it. Kardec is so beautiful. Read this chapter. I tell you, this chapter is fascinating. I cannot cover everything. These are highlights. This is when Kardec starts bringing the subtopics that you and I can ask. Can we ask questions concerning the future? Good question, huh? Can we? Okay, so let's see. Kardec then asked the spirits, what kinds of predictions should we distrust the most? In this day and age, people are talking about big chaos, astrologers saying about portals, etc. What kinds of predictions should we distrust the most? The spirits answered, all which are not of general usefulness. Personal predictions can nearly always be considered fraud, apocryphal. When somebody comes to you and says, starting X date, chaos is going to happen in the world, in your life, and now you decide not to leave your house, etc. What kind of spirit would tell that? A good spirit? No. So if you're following people who are saying that on your Instagram, internet, in general, social media, cut that connection because it's not good. Now, questions regarding past and future lives. Can spirits reveal our past lives to us? God sometimes allows them to be revealed depending on the objective. If the revelation will aid in your edification and instruction, these revelations will be authentic, and in such case, they almost always will occur spontaneously and completely unexpectedly. However, God never allows it to satisfy idle curiosity. So, in our center, the Spiritist Society of Virginia, the Spirit sometimes comes and reveals past lives, future lives. That doesn't mean we're going to tell people, but sometimes they need to know hints and tips in order to adjust, harmonize themselves when people are willing to change. What about moral and material interests. Can we ask the spirits about what we are interested morally or materially? Can spirits offer us advice about private affairs? Can they or not? Sometimes, depending on the situation. It also depends on whom you ask. Advice about one's private life is more precisely given by familiar spirits who are more connected to individuals and take an interest in their concerns. Sometimes the spirits will say, for example, I want to buy a house for my family. And then the spirits are going to say, let's think. Let's look at the bills. Is it the right time? Do we have the finances to do so? They guide us like teachers, so we think for themselves, but they will give us tips and hints. And if we follow the course of our reasoning, they will lead us into the decision we need to take. Can our familiar spirits reveal things that may help us in our material interests? They could and will sometimes do so, depending on the circumstances. However, bear in mind that good spirits never render service to greed. I've seen loving spirits advising the appropriate time to do a job change, a career change, right? Advising, but they always do this for us to progress. It's never about material gain. Yeah, do this and you get a promotion. They will help us so we get to the point where we need to be for our immortal evolution. So it's fruitless to go to a psychic, to a tarot card reader, and spend that money asking about things. Read the book Liberation, friends, by Andre Lewis. In that book, we're going to see how Andre Lewis shows to us what can happen in the spiritual realm when we pay people to receive advice about things that have nothing to do with our evolution. What about questions that we need to ask the spirits about our fate? May we ask spirits for information about the situation of other spirits in the spiritual realm? For example, I have a relative who discarnated. I want to know how they are doing. Can I ask them? Yes. And they willingly respond when the request is made out of affinity or desire to be useful, rather than for the sake of curiosity. So at the right time, they will tell us when and how they are. Mhm. And it will happen according to the need that we have to know. Is it useful or is just curiosity? There was a time when I know this based on one of the historians, the biographers of Chico Xavier in Brazil, John Harley. John Harley in Peter Leopoldo, Minas Gerais, told us that one time he asked Chico Xavier, he loved Elvis Presley, the singer, and asked, hey Chico, is there any news about Elvis Presley in the spiritual realm? And the plain answer was no. But Chico Xavier got to know about Marilyn Monroe and many other people who were celebrities in the spiritual realm. But he had no permission whatsoever to talk about Elvis Presley. Isn't that interesting? Chico Xavier was a medium like no other. What about our health? May spirits offer advice regarding our health? Do you think they can ask, that we can ask about what's happening to us? We need our health in order to fulfill our work while on earth. And that is why spirits willingly concern themselves with it. However, since they are both ignorant and knowledgeable ones, in this case, as in all others, it is wise not to address the first one who appears. It's like I said at the beginning. If you walk in the street and you ask somebody, oh, I'm thinking about starting this new medication for this problem. Do you think I should take it? Well, who is this person you're asking in the street? Is this person a doctor? And are they knowledgeable about your specific disease? Because they're doctors and doctors. So why you are gonna ask any spirit? And why will they know? Edgar Cayce, he went through this deep trance state and received informations, the readings, more than 30,000 readings that are recorded and still being studied throughout the world. Sometimes those readings were directed to specific cases, and many remedies came to fruition because of it. Like, for example, the use of castor oil to diminish inflammation, taking care of 10,000 diseases. But Edgar Cayce devoted his life to helping others. Unlike many of us who just have this very self-absorbed interest. So we can pray. I remember last year I was praying that I wanted something to give a boost health-wise. And then the mentors advised on a particular natural vegetable juice to drink every day at fasting. What is it? Beets, apples, carrots, celery, turmeric root, ginger root, lemons, and a little bit of black pepper. Simple as that, blend it in, drink it in the morning as I was fasting. How can that be unhealthy? Never. Because the good spirit will reply to our needs. I'm just sharing an example with you. What about questions concerning inventions and discoveries? When certain discoveries, proper time has come. Okay, so let me say something before. In the very chapter, Kardec says, can we ask questions regarding inventions and discoveries? And the spirits say, look, people need to work. They need to sweat in order to find the inventions and discoveries. But, and that's when it comes, when certain discoveries, proper time has come, the spirits in charge of directing progress search for the appropriate person to accomplish them, inspiring them with the necessary ideas, believing them all the merit because they themselves will have to develop the ideas and carry them out. They will point directions. I remember as a scientist, many occurrences in which we were at a crossroads in our project, and then in the middle of the meeting, the mentors told me, Vanessa, remember Kardec when he said this in the Spirit's book? So look at the graph. The next direction is blank. So he pointed to a certain thing, but asked us to fill in the blank. But they pointed the direction, and then we worked on it. Several discoveries happen much faster when we pray, when we read the Spiritist books. This is the process for all the great works of human intelligence, and good spirits respect all individuals in their own sphere. Those who are capable only of tilling the soil will not be made depositories of the secrets of God, but spirits will know how to draw out of obscurity someone who is capable of fulfilling the divine plan. Okay? So we can ask the questions as long as we do our sweat. 99% sweat, 1% inspiration, and that's the magic trick. Can we ask about lottery, hidden treasures, etc.? Can we ask about it? Well, can spirits reveal the whereabouts of hidden treasure? Kardec asked this question, and the answer was high order spirits do not concern themselves with such things, but mocking spirits often reveal the whereabouts of non existent treasures, or they might even indicate one place while the actual treasure is in another. And I think this is so right, because it's God teaching us. Come on, we're better than that, right? Hidden treasures, friend? Mm-mm-mm. Unless it's the treasure of love. And finally, there is this questions regarding other planets. Can we ask about it? Good spirits love to describe the planets that they inhabit, in order to provide instruction, to help you evolve, and to place you on the path that will lead you to them. Example given, there are so many. Chico Xavier's mother. She came back, and through Chico, she dictated a whole book talking about Mars. Letters from a Dead Woman. This book's not yet in English. 2, there is a book, there is a whole interview that was published even in the Spiritist magazine since Kardec's time, and then in English recently, years ago. The cover is Mozart, and then we're going to see his own description about his internship in Jupiter after living on Earth. Then he came back and said how it was there. Good spirits will tell us. Why not? Other worlds are as important as our world. I am always surprised when I see spiritists spooked about this conversation about inhabitants in other planets, other worlds. After all, this is one of the main tenets of Spiritism, main principles. So we should talk about it. It's not, we shouldn't say extraterrestrial, because we may be the ETs, quote unquote, of course, of other planets, right? Because we're here. But who guarantees that we are not coming from other planets and incarnating here? And this is so natural. We can talk to the spirits about this. So, as we come to a close in this conversation today, the chapter is rich. Please take a look at the chapter. It's so beautiful. Questions and answers. I think our lives will be much better, much easier when we read this chapter, because we'll learn how we can talk with the spirits in our prayers, and how they can interact with us, and we are going to sort out much better what is good and what is bad. Do you have any questions? If you have any questions, any comments, you can always write to us at kardecradio@gmail.com. And by the way, the full list so far of the Medium's book study is there on YouTube. Beautiful playlist there on YouTube for you. Go there, review the previous chapters, 30-minute lessons with a diversity of scholars bringing to us the teaching of the spirits. It's the science of the spirits, friends. Thank you for joining us, for being here with us, and we hope you come back for more. Next week, we're going to talk a little more about the contradictions, the frauds, how to be immune to that. Come back because Kardec Radio has always more to nourish our souls. Thank you, friends.